What's up, everybody? This is Kurt Dimer, and you're watching Aftershocks TV. Peace and love.
All right, so Tom, man, what's going on in the world of metal, my friend? What's going on? Fill us in.
Yeah, so I think for me, I've got a nice few concerts coming up in 2 weeks from now. I'm going to see Tool, so I can give you my review on that. It's playing the Spectrum Center here in Charlotte, so 20,000 people or so. So looking forward to that. And then coming up, I think I said this in a previous episode, I got Adrian Vandenberg and also coming up and Jeff Tate actually coming up in February. But I think there's a few things going on here about one of the things that you sent me on today, Matt, I know we're jumping around it, but that's I love when we do this, is talking about the anniversary of the debut of the Jason Newsted album. And when you sent that on, I went, dang, I forgot about that. I bought it when it came out, I remember, but I totally forgot about the album. And I listened to it today and I said, fuck, that's a good record right there. Great songs, really good production. And I was just kind of blown away by a revisit of that album, which came out, just over 10 years ago. So it's a great call out to talk about that.
Well, I just, what made me think about it was, I think I forget where I read it or something. I saw it, and I just can't believe that was 11 years ago. I felt like it was yesterday, like 5 years ago or something.
22.
But I'm gonna disagree with you. I was actually very disappointed in that record. I mean, maybe I need to go back and listen to it again.
Not for me. Nope.
Yeah. Because I'll tell you why. It's just when I think of Newsted, see, I was very excited, right? When he said he's putting out a metal album again, I was like, okay, I'm pretty, this should be good. I want to see what he can bring to the table because let's be honest, I mean, for years, right? Newsted was kind of the guy, he was just that other guy in Metallica, right? I mean, he just never really got, I think, a lot of the, I don't want to say credit, but the guy, he was an outstanding bassist. And he also, Doomsday for the Deceiver, that was an amazing thrash metal. And he was he wrote all that.
Right, he did.
So I was excited to see, like, all right, I want to see what he's, because he was saying, I remember, it's old school metal. That's what he said. It's old school metal. I'm like, okay, cool. This is going to sound, I'm sorry, when I heard it, I was like, this is not old school metal. This is like 90s new metal. And it's like, and I want to look back, it's like, okay, well, he had Mike Mushak, the guitarist from Stained, playing with him. Well, which makes sense then. Okay, that's why it sounded that way. But it was an old school metal, and I think I was just disappointed because I was expecting, I'm not saying I was expecting some pure thrash or crazy, but I was expecting a little bit of thrash, a little bit of speed, and it was more groove, it was more 90s bouncy. Lyrically, he was just singing about himself. He was just singing about I'm king of the underdogs or whatever it is, all that stuff. And I think it was just an album lyrically that he came out with that he wanted to, obviously, being away from so long from Metallica, he wanted to get his name back in there and say, like, I'm still the man too, And I don't know, I just lyrically, musically, I was very disappointed with the record. I should though go back and check it out because that happens a lot of times too. When I first hear something, right, give it a few spins, I don't like it, and then I go back 10 years later or so, like it is now, and I'm like, oh wait, maybe I was just. Maybe my expectations were too high and expecting it to be something that wasn't.
Sure, that happens.
So I probably have to go back and listen to it. But I just remember at the time, thinking like, I was a little disappointed on it. But I just can't believe it was 11 years ago because I remember the first time hearing that record.
I agree.
And it was like, damn, that was like yesterday. So it's just time is flying here, and that's why we got to keep.
That's
we got to do this kind of stuff,
Yes, that's a touch on it and mention. And I like the fact that, like Matt and I, like we have this differing of opinions. This is what shows are supposed to be, right?
Absolutely.
You have a difference of opinion. But, it's been relatively prolific over the years with obviously his solo stuff. He had the EP, he had the album, he had Echo Brain. And he's not starving for dinner. So I looked at his net worth and whether it's right or wrong, it's like $60 million. And he wrote a couple of key songs with Metallica. I know he definitely co-wrote Blackened or whatever. I wrote it down. I can't remember some of the other ones, but whatever. So the royalties are still coming in nicely for Mr. Newsted. But and I think there was he stepped out of metal, then came back in again. I know there was something else going on.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. Sometimes, sometimes I just think when guys do that, listen, I get it. You want to spread your wings. Look, like you said, he was with Metallica for years. He was, I mean, he had no worries about his financial situation, so he could do what the hell he wanted to do. And when he did Echo Brain, that was another one. I mean, I interned a little bit at the label he was on, what that band was on, which is Surf Dog Records down in San Diego.
Yep.
And I was just, again, I was like, I gave that another shot recently. I was like, let me check it out. It's okay.
That's all right. I know
it was just such I wasn't a huge fan. It was obviously a huge departure from Metallica. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But then he kept going, sort of acoustic thing or some sort of like bluegrass thing.
That's right. He did.
Yeah.
He did.
He's doing all these different things, which, like I said, if that's what you want to do, that's great. But I just think sometimes these guys get so far removed from what they made them their got their bread and butter for them. It made them their fortune, and then they kind of try to come back, and it's never the same. And then they're not really into it. I think with that album, I just think it was sort of, I don't want to say forced, but I don't think he was really into metal anymore. But he wanted to come back and do it, but it still wasn't him because let's be honest, he hasn't done it again since. He
hasn't. He hasn't. I think that's an interesting, again, topics for kind of future discussion is about taking these big rock stars in big bands and then they go solo and then nobody cares. Like nobody gives a shit. I mean, you take Duff McKagan in Guns, right? They're obviously, I'm not a Guns fan. I've seen him a couple of times.
I'm not a huge Guns fan either. Yeah.
I'm just not a fan. They've got one good album and a couple of good songs, right?
That's
pretty much. Right? But, hey, hats off to them. They're playing 50,000 people a night. However, if you take the Duff McKagan albums, does anybody really give a shit about those? I mean, good for him. He doesn't need the money. He just needs to, reach out and do what he needs to do. I don't think I've listened to, well, I'm not a huge Guns fan, so maybe not a good example, but I don't think I've listened to 2 songs of his solo stuff because I just don't care. But I think it's an interesting future topic. Take a band, take a big star, look at their discography and say, well, where did it go? Even takes Bruce Dickinson from Maiden. Take Steve Harris. His band, I think, is an abomination. And I'm a huge Maiden fan. It's just like, fuck. I think, Matt, we have a topic for future. We just talk about these break-off bands that go nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I understand, wanting to spread your wings. It's just that, just the NEWSTED thing. I'm not just to go back to him since we're just we don't want to go too far, to talk about too many bands or musicians. But like I said, this guy was known not even Metallica. Like I said, I want to go back to the Flotsam stuff. That was that's a classic thrash metal record. Now I get it. Listen, we see so many thrash metal musicians, veer away from that. I get it. That was when you party of youth. Maybe it was you were angry, you were a little, whatever it may be, and you're just not feeling it anymore. I totally get that. But no one's going to sit there and to think about how rare it is where musicians go from one style to the next and are successful. There's been occasions that's happened, but it doesn't happen often. And so a guy like Jason Newsted, you're known for metal, you're known for heavy stuff, thrash metal. Like I said, if he would have continued, I think, with his Newsted project, I think eventually it could have been something good because he would have stuck with it. But to come back to have one, I think his expectations were a bit off the charts because he came back. I think he thought everyone was just going to line up to see him, and it was it. It was going to be great again, and it wasn't because, like I said, for one, I just think, like I said, my opinion was I didn't think the music was that great, but it wasn't even just that. It was he gave up like that. Right, he did. I think he did that tour, and then once he got bounced off that tour with Megadeth, remember they had to kind of remove him. It was something with the promoter. It was in Australia, and he got removed. And then after that, he just disappeared. He was like, "Forget it, I'm done." Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, then why'd you come back to begin with? Did you really want to do metal again? I don't think so. Or did you want attention? And I just think a lot of that was just him wanting just some attention to get, because no one in any other than music genres he's playing, they don't care that you're from Metallica because that's not your style that you're known for. And I think, again, that's ego. It's definitely part ego to think that. And like you say, he should have came back and stuck with it. He should have just put out one album, called it, it was a stupid name too. I mean, just the whole thing was like, listen to metal. That was his slogan. Listen to metal.
That's right, yeah.
It was just cheesy. It was corny, man. And it was just half-assed to me. He didn't do it, I think, for the right reasons. He did it for attention. He thought because he was a Metallica, I think he thought everyone was just going to love it and get all over it, promote it, and just it was going to be the biggest thing. And it did nothing. And then he just picked up his ball and went home. And I just.
Well, I think it's safe to say, Matt, that Jason won't be on the show. So I just want to put
that
out.
No, it's okay. Like I said, I love Jason Newsted. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck Matt, talk to me, right?
Well, like I said, I'm a fan of him. I'm not saying I'm not a fan. I just don't really. I think he should have done that much better. Listen, he's still got time to do it. He should come back, Jason. That's what you should do.
Yeah,
you should get the band together. Maybe get a better, like, different guitarist. Like I said, Mike Mushak's a good guitarist. He's been in a couple of big bands, Sonia,
right.
and of course Stained.
Right. Yep.
So I'm not knocking him at all. I just think when I think of Jason Newsted, I just don't think of new metal. I just don't, So, and don't call it like it's old school metal. That was not old school metal. So anyway,
I got you on that one. I agree. I do like the album, so we differ on that, and that's perfect. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Tom, I know you wanted to bring up. Well, you just kind of mentioned something about Mike Portnoy. He's obviously now back in Dream Theater.
Yeah.
Big news. Not that we're surprised about it, but yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
I mean, look, he's obviously, his Dream Theater, his baby, formed back in 1985, and we get all the big hits and all the his drumming prowess and all of that. That's well documented, and his love of Neil Peart and all that kind of stuff. But I think we knew it was going to come back. Obviously, Mike Mangini was there for a number of years, 12 years, whatever it was, and Mike came back. But I guess just to touch on this for a minute, because it's been discussed, but I'm trying to see what value he's going to add to the Dream Theater brand, because I don't think they're going to sell one more ticket. I don't think they're going to sell one more album because he's back. People like the nostalgia of getting the original member back. If they're playing 1,000-seater halls, they haven't moved up to 2,000-seater halls because the drummer is back in town. I don't think that's going to happen.
I agree.
I don't think it's an unnecessary move. Everybody likes, like, oh, the gang are back together and so on and so forth. But I think I think it's something that it's hey, that's great, and just move on. It means zero to me because Mike Mangini is arguably as good as a drummer. I don't know if the better. I'm not that technically in the weeds on drumming, but they're as good as each other, clearly. But it's his baby. It's good to see him back together. They're all happy, and let's him and Petrucci get together and release some good music. I've seen him just once, I believe. I've seen Mike Portnoy a couple of times with Winery Dogs, and I saw him at Sons of Apollo, which I'm guessing those two bands are put on at least for 24 into 25. I guess they're totally on the back burner because Dream Theater know that the rock and metal fans are looking at them and have to come back with something special. So I think they're going to jump into the studio for the next year, come back with a fuck off album and do a tour probably in 25, I would guess.
Yeah. Well, Sons of Apollo, they have come out. They're done. I mean, they've, at least for now.
Okay, yeah.
I
like
them. I do too. I think they're excellent. I mean, they're an excellent band. Jeff Scott Soto, I believe, came out some time ago and said that, there's nothing happening.
I think he was pissed, wasn't he? He said he didn't really know.
He's always pissed. I like Jeff. He's a really nice guy. We were wrong, but he seems like he's always pissed. So, I mean, because, his situation, I get it. Like, that was a great band, and that's something that he could have, that could have been one of his main, between his solo, TSO, and that, he could have been set. And I get it. Now it's like they built up, they put out 2 great records, and now, boom, they're leaving. Yes, I understand. I mean, that was a good band that I wish would have continued.
Great brand. I mean, I saw them in New Jersey a couple of years ago, and to have that Bumblefoot, I'd never. Obviously, we know the Guns N' Roses aspect. I never realized how good of a guitar player he was. I know he has a bazillion solo albums, but he was just next level, incredibly dexterous, and his solos were tremendous. I ended up meeting him at the bar. Actually, I've got a photograph because it was a small little venue held about. Actually, it was a Stone Pony in New Jersay. So a lot of people.
Oh wow, I know Stone Pony.
Yeah, Stone Pony. That's right, Stone Pony. Yeah, and I just got in for. I actually think I missed the. Yeah, that's right. I think I missed the first couple of songs, and I saw him play with Sons of Anarchy with Scott Stapp. Actually, I ended up seeing him.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
I did. Yeah. I caught that. And they were also in the Stone Pony. So I ended up kind of circling back on. But with Mike Portnoy, we know he's doing his thing, and Flying Colors, Adrenaline Mob, as they're past bands, and they're all well in the back burner right now. But listen, best of luck to Dream Theater. I'm a huge fan, and I have been forever. Literally 20 years, if not longer. So I'm happy to see him back, but at the same time, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I saw Dream Theater once. I saw them at the Gigantour, the Megadeth tour that was around about 15 years ago or so. And I got to be honest with you, I liked some of the early stuff, but I was never the hugest Dream Theater fan. But when I saw them live, they were unbelievable.
Oh yeah, the musicianship, we know about that.
I mean, they made me a fan after that show. I mean, and I did start listening to some more of their stuff after that show. To me, it's just with them. Obviously, a lot of it's just the songs are too long. And I like proggy stuff, but I like shorter songs.
Sure.
But I do like them. I don't dislike them at all. Not at all. I mean, they're one of those bands that's sort of polarizing, right? Either you love them, you hate them.
Oh yeah.
I'm not. I'm in between. I don't hate them at all. I do like them. I just, it's hard for me to sit down and put on a Dream Theater record. But I love a lot of the classic songs they have. Yep. But yeah, my take with Portnoy is, I mean, I just you pretty much knew this was going to eventually happen, especially when you started seeing some things in the press.
Yeah, they were buddies again and going for a beer.
Exactly.
And you saw what was coming.
You
so
knew
I think Mike
happening.
Mangini just stepped away. He released his solo album recently, but he stepped away gracefully, and he his name is out there just because of Dream Theater. So he is obviously he's probably pissed. Let's be honest, he's lost a big gig, but Sylvie. It is what it is.
I'm like I said, I'm sure though he always knew there was a chance this was going to happen. I think it was just Mike. Well, if you think about it, this is a guy. He's kind of like a guy who left his wife and then cheated on her for a bunch of times for years, and then was able to come back to the family. That's what Mike Portnoy is. If you think about it, I mean, he got to leave, did all the stuff he wanted to do, right? And then, can I please come back? Let's kiss and make up. And then they did, and now he's back. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, this guy, dude, I'm going to tell you something, too, about Mike Portnoy. Chris is, he's got that thing with Johnny Giueli called the Starving Artist. He started up that company, right? He's talked about. And so I've been helping him out with some stuff, Chris. And he was telling me that, with Mike Portnoy's catalog, it's insane the amount of stuff he's been on and involved with, like stuff we don't even know about. It's like
I looked at it on Wikipedia today, and I knew probably 50% of it. I was looking at all the other bands, going, "Who the fuck are they?" No idea. He's been on 25, 30 albums. I have no idea. The list is endless on Wiki.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my question though now is this: because that's who he is. He's a guy that likes to go from here to here to there to there to there. I mean, is he able to stay and not venture out, to anything else besides Dream Theater? I mean, I'm interested to know what's in that contract. What's in the agreements? I mean, what can he do outside and what can't he do? Because there's no way this guy's just going to do Dream Theater and that's it. That's not going to happen. No.
Well, they didn't take him back so he can do 15 other bands and then he can grab a tour here. And so I think he took him back, and whatever the contract says, okay, Dream Theater is number one and everything else is number two. And what the wording of that, I have no idea. But he if they're going to make this big announcement, they've got to give it everything, and he has to give it everything. So he cannot be Flying Colors and Sons of Apollo. And I've got so many bands. He even played with like Twisted Sister, Avenged Sevenfold. We could go on all day. We could go on all day.
All day. I mean, like I said, I'm sure he had a great time doing it. Like I said, he's a guy who left his wife, fucked a bunch of other women, and now he's back with his wife. That's pretty much what it is. So in the end, Mike Portnoy, he won. He won this. He's a winner, obviously.
Yeah, good for him. It's a good rock story. We just wanted to touch on. I know it's been probably last month or whatever, but we're catching up on a couple of shows. But it's a good story. I'm just glad we touched on it. But quite frankly, I couldn't care less. I'm going to go to a show whether he's in the band or not. I'm going to buy the record whether he's in the band or not. So that's how I look at it.